Sachin, how are you, my friend?
Very good, Phil. Always great to see you, brother.
And you too. I'm really excited about getting you on. You're somebody I've been following for quite some time now, and somebody who definitely shares some incredibly valuable inspiration and insight, wisdom for high performing entrepreneurs. And I've really been looking forward to this conversation. So let's start it off with a real concise overview of who is Satyen Raja. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in the fitness space, the nutrition space, the yoga space, martial arts space, all listening to this, and some of them have probably never heard of you. So give them a bit of an overview. I always hate these kind of questions at the start because they could go on for so long, but you've had a background in martial arts, health and nutrition yourself, personal development, spirituality. The list is endless. Give the guys an overview before we get stuck in.
Certainly. Well, thanks for asking. Well, I started 40 years ago as a shiatsu therapist and martial artist. I was really drawn to the wisdom as well as the physical aspects of improving mind, body, and spirit. And I've been on that path now for 40 plus years. Immersing myself in all different types of philosophies, methodologies, teachings. I continuously love to learn and absorb. Bruce Lee talked about this principle of absorb what's useful, discard what's not, meaning get rid of the stuff that's outdated for you and come up with your own creations. So I've been on that journey from being a therapist, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and now I'm a guide, a mentor. I support business leaders who are interested in having a holistic form of life, transcending the ego and becoming really the most potent expression of leadership and impact that they wish to make in the world.
Incredible. And you're currently residing in British Columbia, is that correct?
I'm in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. That's right. But hailing originally from Uganda, Africa, and then England, and then Canada. So I've been blessed to have a very international experience.
Incredible, incredible. So I want to get stuck in, and before I do, I want to just get some real layman stuff out of the way because there's probably going to be a couple of words that are going to come up here that some people will not have an understanding of, or will maybe have a vague understanding of. And I would love to hear your take on these words. So really simple: consciousness. If people hear that word, what exactly do you mean by the word consciousness? What do you actually are you explaining? What does it define
Yeah.
in your terms?
Well, when we're deep asleep, we're not conscious. When we're getting some type of surgery and underneath anesthesia, we're alive, but we're not conscious,
Yeah.
meaning we're not able to perceive ourselves, not even aware of ourselves, not even aware of the world, anything around us. So for me, consciousness is the degree of how much awakeness we have. How awake are we? So when we wake up in the morning, we're more awake. When we go about our day, we're more awake. The challenge is our consciousness is stuck and sticky in many things that distract us, our worries, our family concerns, our business concerns. And those things mire down our awareness, bring it right down, and we're not as alive and awake as we can be. So for me, consciousness means how deeply can we connect ourselves to being awake, removing ourselves from the things that keep us more sleepy, brainwashed, hypnotized, all the commercials out there, as health professionals, we know how much hypnosis is there regarding junk food, attitudes, ways of life that aren't fulfilling and realizing our full potential. So for me, awakeness means becoming more awake bodily, becoming more attuned bodily, becomes more attuned mentally. What are we putting our attention to? Whatever we are, it's going to grow. Whatever we water in our mind is going to grow. If we put our attention on stuff that's not good for us, that's going to grow. So let's become awake, become more aware of what are we perceiving, putting our attention on. Emotionally, as business leaders, as guides of other people, it's really also important to become more awake emotionally. What is the inner turmoil? What are the challenges? What are the traumas we've had in ourselves that are keeping us weighted, that are not keeping us fully present? When we can learn to heal and awaken our emotional body, we become better fathers, better leaders, better mothers, better guides, better servants, right?
Yep.
And then spiritual awakeness, spiritual consciousness is how tapped we are to the magnificence of this universe. Whatever we want to call that great mystery, God, truth, life, infinity. And I don't think there's any arrival to consciousness. I think it's a continuous cultivation and a continuous expansion, that we can be on the path forever.
Solid. Yeah. One of my questions there was, what do you define spirituality as? And I think you've answered that as well. So, in essence, are you basically saying that as entrepreneurs, one of the main challenges that's holding us back is all of these stories that we're playing, the junk food, the advertisements, society, culture, and a lot of the stories that are run throughout media that are ultimately keeping us living in fear and holding us back from expressing ourselves and really being our true self in many ways, shapes, and forms?
Absolutely, my friend. And, we understand this as health professionals. We understand, when we're helping people break through their plateaus, most of the time it's mental and emotional, psychological. Many of the times, the body will only follow what the mind and the emotions are telling it to do. And so when we dive into deeper realms around how can we be more clear mentally, emotionally, how can we be more attuned to wisdom? To me, that's another aspect of spirituality. Listening to our forefathers, listening to our foremothers, listening to our elders, tapping into the wisdom of nature, Mother Nature. When we tap into all these things, then we become more of a whole, solid, strong being that's really the fullest expression of what we can be.
And ultimately, that is allowing one to be of greater service to the world, greater service to themselves, and ultimately express whatever their talents and skills and interests and values are. So that was really, really interesting. Now, you run a company called Warrior Sage, and I'm really interested into how you came into the naming of that company. Define for me the warrior and define for me the sage. What exactly is that? And I think there's a lot of wisdom to be taken here in the combination of those two words together. And I'd love to hear your take on it.
Absolutely. Well, I believe there's a warrior and sage within all of us. Doesn't matter who we are, we all have a warrior and a sage. The warrior for me is the part in us that faces fear and doesn't back down, that faces fear and learns to not collapse, but meet it, finds the place within us that is smaller than what we could be or is playing small, and then chooses to go beyond that. It's courage, it's honor, integrity. The warrior is also the part in us that has a mission, something higher than just our small lives, something that cares for the greater good. And the warrior is the one who steps on that path continuously, gets knocked down 2 times, 3 times, gets up on the 4th, 5th. So the warrior element is the one that makes us stronger. It's the one that goes to the gym, one that exercises, that one that challenges us within ourselves. And so the more we sharpen the sword within ourselves of our warrior, the more impeccable we become, the more integral we become. And the more we're felt as someone who can be trusted. We garner more dollars, we garner more trust, we garner more impact, we become more influential when we hone the blade of the warrior. Now, if we keep only doing that, we can burn out because the warrior tends to work hard, go for it, achieve goals, make things happen, break through obstacles. This is very powerful, but it needs to have the yin side. In the Chinese philosophy, there's the yang side, the strong, the masculine, the directive. There's the yin side, the soft, the expansive, the receptive, the tenderness, the awareness, the beauty. And to me, the sage is cultivating wisdom. If we just have great wins in our life, I've worked with so many people who have attained incredible heights of success, incredible heights. And what they're sometimes are deeply yearning for is to live a life of peace, more tranquility, more flow. To touch that part, we have to cultivate the sage within us, which is learning to meditate, learning to get in touch with our inner self, learning to get in touch with feminine wisdom, earth wisdom, to go back to our ancestors, to read and to learn about their histories, to learn about what made them survive insurmountable odds. When we sit down with the grandfathers and grandmothers and the elders of our generation, there's a transmission of grace, of knowledge, of wisdom that they give that goes far beyond words. It's something that they're living, they're embodying. So I believe when we bring together the spiritual aspect of the sage and the warriorship of our power, then we have a holistic way of life and we become a balanced individual, which is ultimately, for me, I found the greatest way to have success without compromising our soul.
Yeah. And that actually led me to my next question. How do you define success? And I suppose what you've just explained there is one of the reasons why I'm attracted to you. And one of the reasons why I brought you on the show is because, you're not just about the whole mental models or productivity side of things in terms of how we can just get more shit done. It's about getting shit done, but at the same time, also having a healthy state of being and blending those two together. And, you've talked there about, the yin and the yang and the feminine, the masculine side of things. I think with a lot of personal development that's out there, it's about mental models. It's about, how to get more off your to-do list and stuff like that. But there's a whole piece missing. And I feel that that's something that you really, talk about and articulate very, very clearly and very, very well. And is that something that you see in, the majority of the personal development world, that, there's a whole element missing per se from, the whole comprehensive holistic?
I would say it's not missing. I would say it's ready for matureness and maturing deeper. And I believe as younger people, it's good to have that attitude of let's go for it. Let's make things happen. Let's crush it. If you think about the term crushing it, it's popular nowadays, at least in the North America it is. And think about it. Let's crush it. Who do you end up crushing? You end up crushing yourself after a while. You hear about this, the tale of, massive action equals massive results. Well, who's looking at the massive suffering and burnout that's also happening behind the scenes when we let go of the facades on the outside of strength and honor and vitality? What about our family lives? What about our inner soulful relaxation? What of our well-being? I think it's not only important to cultivate where we're going, which is achievement-oriented consciousness or mindset, but also as valuable, perhaps if not more, where are we coming from? Where are we coming from? Are we coming from urgency? Are we making our decisions from lack? Are we making our decisions and our choices and our direction in life from fear, from feeling we're not good enough, from feeling perhaps that we haven't come to where we need to be, emotional lack, financial lack? And the challenge is, if we, think about the soil, we have a beautiful garden in the backyard here. If the soil is not rich, then whatever grows from it will be a result of that lack of richness. If we're already, if we put good soil of our being and soil and soul, if you will, and then grow from where we're coming from. And if we can find the place where we relax the importance of what so many imprints have told us. We see people are successful, ideas, we want to be like them, but are we? We can never be anyone. You're you. You're the only being in the world that's you, my friend. I'm the only one like this. Everyone listening, there's so many amazing health advocates around the world, every way. But you can only be you. And when you're doing you, you're touching the soul of who you are, which is what people are coming to you for, rather than all the other systems and methods and how awesome these results are. When we start trusting that you and I are enough, then we're touching our soul. And then all our expression of how we serve is coming from fullness, not from lack. Then that's the way to grow our businesses, our impact, our reach, because we're not coming from being in a rush. We're not coming from a place trying to show others who we are or put on a facade of something more than what we are. We're coming from the vulnerability of our total self, good, bad, and ugly, and magnificent. That is the way of the present and the way of future success as we move forward.
And Sachin, how would you, that sounds amazing and beautiful and just very well rounded, but how would you advise or inspire someone that, business maybe isn't going great? They've maybe had a personal issue in their life and they're in a state of panic. They're in a state of fear. I mean, what are some of the go-tos? And I mean, obviously we're in a podcast here. We've got limited time, so we have to obviously, hack it down to relevant context. But somebody who is just blocked from seeing, the ability to grow from an event or to grow out of chaos and to take their time and to not place importance on rushing to earn money in a sense of survival. We see this in entrepreneurs that are maybe just starting off or who have maybe had a bit of success, but have suddenly had a key staff member leave or a downturn in the market. Something's suddenly gone wrong. Like COVID, for example, hit many of us, especially the gym owners listening to this right now, and that sudden state of panic. How does one, protect themselves, open themselves up, and trust in that flow of life? How do they build the courage for that? Maybe that's a very open-ended question, but what are some go-tos for that for people listening? Because I'm sure they're
a valuable question, Phil, because my business, I had to pivot right away because of many of the times I was giving seminars live, traveling around the world, and I had to take a big gulp. And I think the first place to start is you got to slow down, remove yourself from all the doing, and then you got to get real and honest with yourself by feeling where you're really sitting. For me, I had to sit back and I had to go, holy shit. I had to feel the fear. Usually my warrior mind is trying to move beyond the fear, be ahead of it, try to put it to the side, smash through it, not feel it. But by doing that, we avoid the inevitable, or it comes back again in some way. So the most powerful warrior act we can do is actually to feel our fear, to feel our limitations. That has an image. It has a thought associated with it. There's emotions, there's body sensations. And it's to really say, okay, before I move forward, what's really true? Getting in touch with the truth of where you're really at, not bullshitting yourself. And then if you need to write down, this is what I'm feeling is true right now. I'm feeling scared. Bring a friend with you, a partner, a colleague, a loved one. Sit down and get into a vulnerable place and say, this is what's really going on. Yes, I'm a strong advocate of health and vitality and success, but at the same time, right now, I'm hurting. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I'm scrambling. To get in touch and to feel fully all the discomfort that's within is one of the most powerful things we can do, because rather than avoid it or operate over it, it actually starts to transform the fear, the concern, the worry, the rushing, the overwhelm. It actually starts to unravel when you feel it fully. So that's my first step that I do with myself. I do with all the leaders that I mentor, is I say, and when we had to all go through this, businesses that I was mentoring and coaching, so, okay, we need to assess, not mentally. We got to get into the dirty, dark, scary emotions first of all. Feel it fully. And when you do, and that might take an hour or 2 hours, it might take a few days to just approach it gently and feel it fully, to go for a walk in nature, sit at a pond, sit in some grass, be with nature. And then what will start to happen by feeling it fully, it'll start to unravel. Your inner wisdom, the sage in you, will start to give you a true voice of how to actually pragmatically face what needs to happen. But it won't be coming from scrambling. It'll be coming from your own inner voice and wisdom. That is essential as the starting spot.
Yeah. And I think, with a lot of the stuff that's, preached in the personal development world at the moment, there can be this misconception that one should be able to quickly move through or transcend, if you like, personal problems. And, we're all told that, quite often our chaos leads to, great times in our lives. It teaches us a lesson, etc. But quite often that's not immediate. That obviously takes time for some people to see. And I think especially men in particular that I've seen it over the years can get quite guilty for embracing that kind of fear and actually sitting in it, and they feel uneasy sitting in it. And like you said there, they want to embrace the warrior aspect and move beyond it without actually sitting in it. And I've definitely seen that as definitely a big thorn in a lot of entrepreneurs' sides over the years.
The discomfort is the soil in which you're going to grow new, strong roots. And it's going to be based on a reality, what's real, rather than imagining, rather than future pacing yourself. You got to get really freaking real with where you're at. What can be more of a warriorship than that, than to get real? And even though real might not feel good,
Yep.
trust me, by feeling it fully, it'll unravel. It's much more powerful to have a long-term approach rather than a scrambling approach.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a long-term approach, we have to slow down. We
Yep.
got to get in touch with not only the discomfort, as I shared about, but we got to get contemplative enough so that we can listen to our intuition, which will always give us the right guidance. Always. It can never fail. But when we're moving too fast, can't listen to that intuition. Its voice can never be heard. And I think this is the secret weapon that all modern entrepreneurs, all health vitality leaders, all of us need to tap into and support our clients to tap into as well, because that's the seed of wisdom. And wisdom really is our eternal wealth. It's something that'll be here year after year and grow like a snowball rather than a fast accumulation that comes from some short-term going for it that only ends up crashing again because we haven't dealt with the source of our discomfort.
Yeah, love that. One other thing that I see creep up with entrepreneurs quite a lot is the concept of boredom. When they have the business running well, when they have things delegated off, or they've maybe hit a financial milestone that they set for themselves, and they don't know they don't know what to do next. They don't know how to reset their optics. They don't know how to, use their spare time per se, because they've spent so much time working to build the business, and they go around looking for problems where they don't exist. What key piece of wisdom would you share with individuals that are in that state of boredom? The business is running well, and they ultimately don't know what to do with themselves, and they've created no future for themselves, or they don't know how to. Is there any advice you could give those guys?
Absolutely. I've been through this many times in my life. Many of the fellows and ladies that I've been blessed to coach have gone through this when they hit very beautiful levels of plateaus and successes in their life. Well, first of all, are we taking the time to congratulate and enjoy the spoils of our wins? To take the time and go, wow, maybe I don't need to find the next goal right now. Am I tending to my own backyard, my partners, my family, my loved ones, my mom, my dad, whoever? Am I tending to what's fun and joyful? How about, instead of coming up with the next goal that's going to push you or strike, how about first of all taking the time to honor yourself, honor all those who have served you to become part of that? No one wins alone. We always win in accompaniment with the symphony of other characters, right? And
Yep.
teammates and all of that. What if we started honoring them, being more gracious with ourselves, chilling out, and celebrating life?
Yeah.
So that's one of the first steps, taking the time to celebrate and recognizing there's nothing wrong in that. We don't have to be like the Joneses. We don't have to keep up with anyone else. We don't have to try to match anyone else's ideas of success. We don't have to fall behind. We don't have to worry about being behind our competitors. That's all bullshit. That's all the ego. That's all. We'll never ever get to anywhere wherever our icons are. If we try to, it's almost like a neurotic compulsion. We've got to relax that and celebrate life. Now, there's these Russian dolls, Polish dolls, prahushkas. Excuse me if I'm not saying it properly. There's an outer shell. And when you live that outer shell fully, let's say this is your life path, just by attaining success, there'll be a time where you're going to come to this natural place of, I can do this with my eyes closed. And then naturally a boredom, an inner restlessness. Don't go into that and do something brand new again. Be in the restlessness, celebrate life. And then after a few days, weeks, months, the next layer of that Russian doll will show up. And that's your next purpose. So now you take on that purpose naturally, not forcing yourself into what's next. It'll show up as intuition, insight, synchronicity will happen, where you'll go, you'll hear a story, a tale, you'll hear, here's this comes by your door and goes, that's something I want to do and pursue. Follow that. You'll do that for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? And that layer will then fulfill its karma, its action, its timeliness. You'll then come again into the stage of boredom, feeling lack of purpose. But in those moments where you feel boredom, lack of purpose, emptiness, don't fill yourself with junk food. Don't fill yourself up with distraction, sex, media, junk, buying purchases. Don't do that. Do the opposite. Avoid the distractions. Come into stillness. Sit in the discomfort. Celebrate with all your family that you can. Enjoy life. And then what will start to happen is the next layer will reveal itself. That never ends. It keeps going. And by knowing it never ends and that we have purpose, we run it to its course, it comes to natural end. Be in the discomfort of that as long as you can until the next flowering arises. Run with that fully until the next one fulfills itself. It's a perpetual cycle. And that's, I believe, part of our hero and heroine's journey on this planet, is to allow those spaces of movement and to allow those places of waiting.
Wow, that was incredible. Very good. Very good. I guarantee there's been a lot of people taking notes after that. That was incredible. So a couple more things that I want to close on. Top 3 practices every entrepreneur should have in their day to help them raise their consciousness, become more alive, feel more alive, and ultimately just live a better life. What do you suggest?
Well, I'm going to give you some very simple ones. Some of it we've heard of. First of all, in the morning when you wake up, after you've cleansed yourself, take a few moments to meditate, quiet down, and just get in touch with yourself. And then visualize. We've heard this in many forms. Visualize what you wish you want in your life, personally and professionally. But don't just have it as a board. Go in the experience fully as if you're living it in 3D. Stay there for 2-3 minutes. Then what you do, and this is the interesting part, the next step is once you've created that visualization with feeling, with true feeling, what's it like to live with my family all beautiful and happy and healthy and I'm having great times. And here's the key, you don't have to get so specific. It just has to be vague enough till you get the feeling. Now, the next step is very interesting. Not too many people know about this. This comes from Taoism, the ancient philosophy of actionless action, stressless action. And that is lower the importance on what you just visualized. It's the neurotic ego that wants to then drive it, that visualization. But what will happen is you'll change the internal dynamic by whatever you visualize. Now, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to turn down the dial of importance on this and just be calm about it and hold that energy. The third step is act. Just do simple acts, not heroic or valiant, simple 1, 2, 3 acts of that day and watch it all unfold. So feel fully the realm that you wish to live personally and professionally. Number 2, dial down the dial of importance. Make it so that you're actually, it's all cool whether it happens or not. And number 3, make concerted, less emotional decisions that make actions that move you forward. That will actually paradoxically get you way further ahead than you would with just motivation mindset.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Now, you've got a book coming out called Transcendent CEO. And I just want you to talk briefly about why do you write the book and what exactly does Transcendent CEO mean? Like we've talked about consciousness, spirituality, sage, and warrior. What does transcendent or transcendence mean for those that are listening? And Transcendent CEO, what exactly is that all about?
Well, the book emerged from my work with business leaders over the last 2 decades. And so I've had the blessing of working with some very profound, powerful business leaders. Some of them have run, billion-dollar companies and you name it. And it's all the life lessons I've learned, personal and professional, condensed into one book over these many years of guiding, coaching, and experiencing it for myself. What transcendence means to me is to move beyond the old paradigms of how business was meant to be run, the old imprints of as I shared, crushing it, making it happen, exertion, over willpower, overwhelm. I was really feeling there's got to be a new way for us entrepreneurs, us leaders, our health leaders, whoever we are in the world, to live that's far more aligned and joyful and peaceful, as well as growing magnificently our experiences in our businesses. Why can't we have it all? So Transcendent Leader speaks of those who want to have it all, that whole life within and outside in like perfect symphony. And what it is, it's a book, but it's also an oracle. You can read it front to cover, but when you bring it up, you can pick it up daily and open it up to anywhere. If you have a question in your mind around what to do today, how to deal with a real life challenge of staffing or a personal relationship with your children or your spouse, whatever it is, you just open it up anywhere. There'll be an answer dialed in and a practice, a cultivation, a story just meant for you at that time. And so it's a way to really tap into your own inner wisdom, bringing together the accumulation of all that I've learned. It's practical as well as a mystical experience.
Incredible. And guys, I will make sure the link for that is below in the show notes and also below the YouTube video here as well. Sachin, I just want to close on, why do you do what you do?
I love, I came from a family of entrepreneurs all my life, and I saw the hardships that they've been up and down. And I chose very early on that I wanted success. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to grow my businesses. I wanted the freedom that an entrepreneurial lifestyle offers, but I didn't want it with the overwhelm and stress and struggle that I saw imprinted. So why I do what I do is because I have a love of entrepreneurs who wish to make big impact, but also have a life of tremendous magnificence, inner joy, and for them to and connection with the great mystery of life. So it's my humble sharing of what I've learned on the path, and really it's my love of humanity, why I do what I do. I just love people, and I love to see them come into the joy, the true joy of life,
Incredible. So for all the listeners that are listening to this and all the people that are watching, where can they find out more about you? You do courses, you have retreats, you have events, and again, you also speak on multiple stages across the world. So where is the number one forum where people can get access to all that? I know you've got a Facebook group, a website. Please feel free to tell people, and we'll put everything below this as well, guys, so you can access it.
Thank you, Phil, for the opportunity. You all can come and visit my website, warriorsage.com. There's free downloads, complimentary trainings, very powerful interviews with business leaders that are very inspiring. There's a wealth of information and consciousness raising tools. So please come and visit us. We'd love to hear from you. warriorsage.com.
Awesome stuff. Sachin, I just want to say a massive thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and speak to all of us. We're very, very grateful, and you've shared some incredible insights and wisdom there. And guys, remember to listen and implement everything that you hear. And of course, follow Sachin as well by following the links below. Sachin, thank you so much, my man.
Thank you, brother. Much love to you. All right. Be well, everyone.